Howdy folks, and welcome back to the homestead. Today I'm going to show you how I made 6 of these picture frames and go over some of the mistakes I made along the way. Check it out.
So here's the wood we're working with. This is pallet wood, and these have got to be some of the thickest pallets that I've ever seen. They're 1 1/8 or so thick, and broke them down a long time ago. They've been sitting out in the weather, so some of them are half rotted, but I picked some of the better ones that I've got. They've got a lot of character now, and I like that a lot for what we're doing. Before we do any work on any saw or planer or anything like that we've got coming up, the first thing we have to do is make sure that any staples or nails have been removed from the wood. So once those nails are removed, we are ready to go. The next thing we're doing on the table saw is creating one nice smooth edge, and that's just a reference edge that we can use against our table saw fence. Different width boards, so I have to reset my fence each time. The one edge that I'm running it up against the fence on is okay enough. Normally, if you had a really gnarly board, you'd put this on a sled. And after that, we ripped these to their final width of, I think they were 1.5 inches. I don't remember exactly. Do that a bunch of times, and this is what we end up with. Moving on to the planer. We want to get all these to a uniform thickness so we can get nice clean corners and a nice looking picture frame. If you ran a nail or a staple or something metal through this planer, you'd just tear it up, and that's why you want to be very careful using pallet wood in something like this. You got to get all the nails out. And now to make the glass fronts for the picture frames.
Doggone it.
Or not.
We're going to call an audible on this project. So what I'd been trying to do, and you saw me break a few pieces of glass getting to this point, I like reusing glass from salvaged window frames. Most of the reason I like using that is because it's free and I already have them, right? But I didn't have as much glass as I thought I did. I was going to have to go through some more frames, take the glass out of those and break that. We opted to go to the Dollar Tree and got 6 $1 picture frames. $6 to get a few pieces of glass. I mean, but hey, it's clear, it's glass, and it cost me $6 to do 6 of them. Can't argue with that. Some of these pieces, let's see, where's it at? There we go. I had a little piece, it's kind of curved that way. Not too bad. Maybe it wouldn't show up, but if I'm going to have to get some anyway, I might as well just get 6 of them and save that for something else down the road. It is what it is, no big deal.
Now that we know the thickness of our glass that we're going to be using, it's time to cut the rabbet that the glass, the picture, and the mat will sit down in. That's the little groove, recession, whatever, on the back of the frame that everything sits down in. It's called a rabbet. But I like cutting that on the table saw, and I think this is a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. It's nothing super special. I set my blade height in my fence once, cut it, and do that on a test piece first so I don't screw up any of my good boards. And then something just simple that gives a nice little feature on the front is a 45-degree chamfer. So I'll run all my boards through the makeshift router table. And then we can move on to cutting all our pieces to length. And these pictures are 8 by 10, so the final length is a little bit more than 8 by 10. I forget exactly what they were, but I like using a pattern to make life easy. And I have those set for both 8-inch and 10-inch lengths, those sides. I need a new blade because I use this blade to cut laminate flooring. Don't use good saw blades to cut laminate flooring. If you're out there contemplating that, don't do it. Or do it if you never want to use that blade again. Because I'm on the struggle bus here. Need to get a new blade. I got one for my table saw, and it was an amazing decision. Need to do it for my miter saw. While I'm sorting these boards, I try to find some that, you know, I don't want a nail hole right there in the corner. I want that out of the way as best as possible, so I'm just trying to be a little picky here. I've got more boards than what I need. When it comes time to assemble these, I've got a handful of miter clamps that you can put pieces in and mock them up nicely. I've used them on other projects you guys have watched me do. But for a whole bunch of picture frames, it's hard to really just beat painter's tape. It's got just a little stretch in it, so you put those pieces together in the order you need them, apply a little glue, and then you just fold that whole thing together and tape it on the corners and apply as much tape as you think you need. It really doesn't take a whole lot. But it gets those corners really, really nice, and it's pretty fast. This is the best time to wipe the glue away. Once you get everything dry, it's a lot harder to sand it away. You can wipe it away with a wet cloth. Now, it saves you a lot of headache later. So because these miter joints are just inherently weak, I say inherently because of the way this wood grain goes, wood grain's running this way and that way, you're getting some edge grain or long grain in there, but most of it's end grain, which is the open pores of wood. So any glue applied in that is not super strong. So these miters, these corners need reinforcement. And the best thing that I have to do with that is to take some little wooden plugs. I cut them from plywood because it's what I have handy, but I cut them with a hole saw. That's 1 1/8 inches, and this is a 1-inch Forstner bit. So a 1 1/8 inch hole saw makes a 1-inch plug. A 1-inch Forstner bit makes a 1-inch hole. And so this is a great way. We glue this in, and I mean, look how pretty that fits down in there. And I get to do that a whole bunch of times. So once that's done, these will be nice. Hey, they're picture frames. They don't have to hold up the world. They just need to not fall apart on the wall. Some of those plugs are sitting down a little too far in those holes, and if I can't get good clamping pressure on those plugs, they won't glue right. So I'm going to use some change out of the little change jar there. Everything's clamped up, all the plugs are in place, and you know what they say, you can never have too many clamps. I reckon that'll do. Now I'm taking a screwdriver and just kind of rounding these corners over. If there's any little tiny gap there, rounding them over, it'll take that right out. And really, I mean, it just hides it. It softens that edge just a little bit. And now the fun part, sanding. I start out at 60 grit usually on most projects and then work my way up to 80, 120 grit, and then usually I finish around 220 grit. I've got a few spots where my miters aren't really quite as crisp as I would like. Little gap there. Get a decent gap on this one. This one might just be the worst. Those aren't bad, but I'm gonna hide those. And so the plan to hide these miters, I've got sawdust that I've got from these boards, so they'll match and everything. And we'll add, a little glue if I can get it to come out. We're gonna mix up a little sawdust slurry. I think I'm definitely gonna need some more glue here. I think that's about the consistency I'm gonna get out of this. Focus on the spoon. Anyway, take our little paste slurry here. We'll just kind of rub it in. Here we go. It's looking right now. Of course, I'm doing this after I already sanded. I only sanded to 60 grit though, after seeing exactly how these miters looked. So I'll just focus on the corners next time. That mixture really does a great job of hiding any little imperfections you might have. Once we get it sanded, it'll look a lot better. It'll kind of look complete. Staining these with a special walnut by Minwax. That's our favorite stain, and that kind of, I don't know, it's a nice brown. I mean, it's goes with a lot. It goes with a lot of decor. And after we get done staining, we'll finish this off. We'll apply a coat of wipe-on polyurethane. Give it just a little bit more protection, and I like what it does to the finish. Once the stain and the poly have time to dry, they're done. They're not wet or anything. I guess this has probably been a couple days later. And we're ready to do the final assembly. clean the glass off of any fingerprints, especially the part behind that you're never going to be able to clean again. Lay your picture down. And then I found these acid-free illustration boards, I guess, but they make great picture frame backing. They are durable, and again, they're acid-free, so they won't ever wash out your picture if you use, well, a lot of just plain papers or you know, the backs on cheap picture frames. They have acid in them, and I mean, it's not going to hurt you or anything, but it does over time wipe out the color and clarity of your pictures. So if you use acid-free stuff, it works out a lot better. And one of probably my preferred method of fixing these boards in is I've got some tape applied on a set of channel locks so I don't mar up my wood, but I take a small brad nail and just lightly squeeze and press that thing in there. Does a great job if you ever want to change the picture out. If you don't have a paper backing on the back of your picture frames, then it's easy to pull those out and put a new picture in. But it's really durable. I got two adorable kids.
Well, here's how they turned out. Overall, I'm 95 maybe percent satisfied with the finished result. Normally, here's the extra 5%. Normally, I would have a backing, a paper backing on these frames, and that's what you'd see in a, I guess, a high-end or, you know, above average quality type of frame. But I was having a lot of trouble getting that paper backing to stick. And normally what we would do is lay these out on some paper, trace the outline of the frame just so we know the size, and spray that backing with a spray adhesive. And I don't know if it's because the back of these frames is not super flat, if it's maybe I had some old spray that just wasn't wanting to take, or maybe the temperature out here in the shop was too cold. I'm not sure. But the end result was I couldn't get it to stick, and I tried and tried. It just wasn't working out. And so I had to make a decision, move on from that, and do it without. The reason you would put a backing on the frame is it keeps dust and other, well, I guess dust, is the main thing. Now, if we ever want to change these frames out for the people that they're being given to, we can do it without making a huge mess. But I would have liked to have had the backing on there. It just didn't work out this time, and that's okay. We got room for improvement. But really, I'm happy with how they turned out. The patch we did to make these miters meet up better because the cuts weren't perfect, and there was a little tear out on those cuts. Really happy with how those ended up, how we were able to fix that with the sawdust and glue kind of paste mixture we made. But hey, if we're 95% happy, and I'm really sure that the people who are going to receive these are going to be happy. They turned out pretty well, and for making 6 of them at once, I really like to give a handmade gift whenever we can, whenever it's appropriate. There's always room for improvement. That's why I like, I don't know, I like to learn. I like to try and get better with each thing I do. And so making stuff by hand, making stuff yourself, it's a great way to learn how to do stuff. And you get better each time. That's the goal. So anyway, thank you for watching. We appreciate it. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, and we've got more stuff like this coming. We've got more stuff like it that we've done in the past, so please check that stuff out, and just hey, tune back in, and we'll keep it up. We appreciate it, y'all. See you soon.